Alright, we have something big to talk about. New York just had its first Dasam Akhand part, and it's kind of a big deal. Now I documented this whole event for you guys, and before we get into it, we look at this tradition and where we are as a community today, what the future looks like. It's really important we cover a glossary term that will be used throughout the duration of this documentary, and that is Dasam Gurbani. Dasam Gurbani refers to the teachings of the 10th Guru. Dasam meaning the 10th, Bani means the teachings or the messages. Dasam Gurbani refers to the teachings of the 10th Guru. Now, within Sikh tradition, a huge emphasis is placed on two major things. One, the writings and the teachings of the Gurus. Second, historical accounts, historical narratives, historical texts, such as the Janam Sakhis, the Guru Padas traditions, etc., where we derive history through the lens of Gurmat philosophy. Now, let's focus on the first point right here, the Banis, the teachings of the Gurus. The writings of the first 9 Gurus, or at least the majority of them, are within the Adi Guru Granth Sahib Ji, a text, a Granth which is revered by the Sikh community today as the living Guru. But the writings of the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, are not within the Adi Guru Granth Sahib Ji. In fact, a majority of their writings and their teachings are located in what we know today as the Dasam Granth. It's important to note that different traditions within the Sikh community use different names for this Granth. It's also important to note that the organization of this Granth that we see today on our phones or elsewhere have seen much growth following the Sodhak Committee of 1897. Now, the Sodhak Committee was a collection of scholars who came together to organize the Dasam Granth based on the structure and the commonalities of contemporary Swarups. Now, I have the report here, which we're going to take a look at. This report is titled Dasam Pashahi Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Di Sudai Di, which means the organization of what they termed the Guru Granth Sahib of the 10th Guru. Now, the report goes through many different common Swarups that were found, or contemporary Swarups that were found of that time period. The report looks for commonalities between the Swarups that were being observed, looking for a uniform structure to be created in the future. Also, the report identifies key scholars that were present every single day for the project. It also mentions that this project took a year to complete. At the very end of this report, there's something very interesting I want you to see. Check out the statement addressed to the whole Sikh community. They said that we're sending this report out to the philosophers, to the scholars, to the critical thinkers, to people in political power. We're sending this report out to the whole community. For what task? Well, they say furthermore, Aap Guru ki seva aur aun wali Sikhan di santan par upkar karna vichar ke apni vidya safal karo. Which essentially means send back your feedback and your comments on this project, on each and every ang that has been organized. For what? For the future generation of Sikhs. This project was made for the future generation of Sikhs, for us. Now, before we segue into the next section, which will be how the modern Sikh community perceives and interacts with the Dasam Granth today, I want to just make a note that there are some critics to the Sodhak Committee that say there are some flaws to that project.
Because what it did is it created an issue amongst Sampradaya, amongst the Panth about which Baniya are legit and not legit, like even like 50 Savaiye becoming 32 Savaiye, and other, important bits of Bani being left out, and then people like Pandit Narayan Singh having to write Gita for extra Baniya.
Basically, the opposition is saying that there are some flaws to this project. And one of the biggest shortcomings for this project was that it omitted certain Baniya of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, which were an integral part to the Khalsa philosophy. For example, Ugradanti, or a certain Savaiya out of the 33 Savaiye. Baniya like this, Malkos Ki Var, or Rag Asa, Rag Surta Guru Gobind Singh Ji are omitted. Sukhmana Sahib are omitted. So Baniya like this are believed to have certain key words that the opposition says were omitted on purpose. Although they were omitted in the final version of the Dasam Granth, the report does mention those baniya. For example, Devi Ji da Chanchaka, which is often referred to as Ugradanti, that bani that I just mentioned was omitted in the final version, is mentioned in the report. Therefore, those scholars that were working on this project, they did see those baniya, or they did have some type of interaction with these compositions. Whether or not these baniya were omitted due to some kind of political agenda or just a byproduct of organization, the fact of the matter is that we do have some type of uniformity within the Dasam Granth Swarup that we see today. Although this tradition of uniformity and the gathering of scholars to reach uniformity is not new within the Sikh tradition, the Adi Guru Granth Sahib Ji Swarup we see today has seen its fair share of uniformity, although that is a topic for a different video. Now the question is, where does the modern day Sikh community stand on the Dasam Granth? Well, the answer is quite a loaded one, and we need to retrace our steps. I need to take you back to the 17th century, where the Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj sets up a library called the Anandpur Darbar. This library of Anandpur Sahib existed for 20 plus years. Guru Gobind Singh Ji called over scholars, philosophers, thinkers from all over India and further for a mission, for a task. And that mission was to translate all the different type of texts, manuscripts that were available in exclusive languages only into the Gurmukhi Lipi, so that Aam Janta, the normal people, can read them and take knowledge as well. It is during this time where Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj writes their own Bani, and the first manuscript of the Dasam Granth is created, and is called the Anandpur Bir. In the making of this documentary, we used a very important source to conclude the information that we just gave you. And that source is a book written by a scholar whose name is Pyara Singh Padam. The book is called Dasam Granth Darshan. I want to show you that book. This book is available online as a PDF. Now, what's important about this book is that it mentions the Sodhak Committee report. It mentions that there were 27 handwritten swarups that were used in that endeavor. It goes on to show historical chittiyan, which is basically historical letters, and this letter is by Bhai Mani Singh Ji. Bhai Mani Singh Ji writes a letter to Mata Sundari Ji, explaining that they're trying to compile all the manuscripts of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, all the text of Guru Gobind Singh Ji into one bead, into one compilation. Furthermore, there's a timeline of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, but what we're interested in is the contemporary swarups to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And as you may be able to see here, that the very first swarup, that is the very first manuscript of the Dasam Granth, is the Anandpur Bir, going back to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj themselves. We actually have some pictures of that swarup here with us today. And these pictures showcase the handwriting of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj themselves, as you can see from these pictures. These are the chapters of the Bachitra Natak. And as you progress through this book, and this book is available for free, and we'll link a PDF to this underneath this description, is by the Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy of Malaysia. Anyone interested in researching about the Dasam Granth, I highly recommend this book. As you can see, these pictures are then typed up for the ease of the Sangat to understand what the writing is saying. Now, there's pictures for all different compositions of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Now, our research suggests that the Dasam Granth prior to the mid-19th century would have experienced the same type of reverence and devotion from the Sikh community as we see for the Guru Granth Sahib Ji today. So what changed? A crucial changing point is 1839 with the death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, following which led to 10 years of conflict and 2 wars with the British. After those years of conflict, the Sikh rule was eventually lost and the British take over all of Punjab. Sikhi as a whole was adversely affected from our Sikh institutions to the Sikh philosophy. I have a picture here of Harmandir Sahib. You can see in this picture that a clock tower was constructed by the British. Many say this is to show the Sikh community that the British were now in charge. This was just one example. Sikh philosophy was affected as well by the introduction of Christian missionaries who aimed to target Sikhs living in poverty by supplying schools and free education to their children at the cost of their faith. Christian missionaries are also commissioned to go out and understand the different Sikh manuscripts, including the Adi Guru Granth Sahib Ji. For example, there was an individual named Dr. Ernest Trump, who was a Christian missionary from Germany. He was commissioned to go out and translate the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Ernest Trump starts his project of translation in 1869. It takes him 7 years for this endeavor. Now, in his translation, he translates some shabads from different rags of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, as well as one Janam Sakhi. His translation can be found online in a PDF format. He mentions some comments about the Guru Granth Sahib Ji in his introduction. You can pause this video and read it for yourself if you'd like to. All I can say is not a very big fan. He also prophesies that Sikh religion will be found in museums only. 150 years later, that doesn't seem to be the case. Reasons such as these inspired the Singh Sabha movement, which was essentially a reform movement aimed at preserving and establishing the Sikh identity. For more on this, please visit The Making of the Modern Sikh Identity by the Khalsa Nama. During the height of this movement, there were over 120 Singh Sabhas. Cities across then Punjab set up their own organizations. Now it's important to understand that the ideology of all these different organizations were not necessarily the same. Out of these several Singh Sabhas, one in particular takes a path against the Dasam Granth. That one is the Pasor Singh Sabha movement. The Pasor Singh Sabha movement was led by someone named Teja Singh Pasoria. It's important to note that Teja Singh was seen to be a controversial figure. He did receive some death threats alongside being excommunicated by the Akal Takht, essentially kicked out of the Sikh Panth. So what did Teja Singh do that was seen as controversial? Well, for starters, he publicized his own Gurkha Sahib, and where in the Dara Sahib, he takes away the Kabiyobaj Binti Chaupai. He replaces it with a different Chaupai in his first publication. In the second publication, he omits that completely. Secondly, Teja Singh or his followers desecrated the Sroop of Dasam Granth that was Prakashman in Akal Takht. Here is that Sroop that was destroyed or attacked. You can see here there's a repair mark from where they say a spear was pierced into that Sroop. Now in Akal Takht today, you do not see Dasam Granth Prakash, but right in front of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, there is a place of remembrance for that Sroop of Dasam Granth that used to be Prakashman until the taking over of the SGPC. Now, out of the 5 takhts, there are still 2 takhts that carry on this tradition, Patna Sahib, Bihar, and Hajur Sahib. You can still see this tradition of Dasam Granth being Prakashman at these 2 takhts. Now fast forward to 2023, New York just had its first Dasam Akhand Path. Now what does that mean? A Akhand Path is the continuous readings of the Granth from the very start to the very end. Now, traditionally, this would have been done for both Adi Guru Granth Sahib Ji and the Dasam Granth Sahib Ji. However, in the diaspora, this is not commonly seen, let alone in India. That's why this event is such a big deal. Why, you ask? Well, because the youth in the diaspora are carrying out a tradition that would have only been readily accessible to the average Sikh before the British took over Punjab. Since after the British take over Punjab, it seems there is only ignorance and dogma surrounding the understanding of the Dasam Granth. Now, this was not the first time the state of New York has experienced interaction with the Dasam Granth. 10 years ago, there was a seminar on the Dasam Granth in New York where many different scholars were called out for discussion on the Dasam Granth. And a few years prior to that, we had the incident with the very famous Professor Darshan Singh, who went on a local news channel here in New York to say the following.
ਵੇਸਵਾ ਦੇ ਅੱਡੇ ਤੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਵੇਸਵਾ ਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਪੜੂਗੇ
ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਬਲਕਿ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਇਸ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੰਨਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਰਚਨਾ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਵਾਪਰੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ
ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਾਪਰੀ ਮੈਂ ਮੰਨਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਨਤਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ
He also goes on a few Gurdwara stages in New York to speak against the Dasam Granth. Now for this, he was also excommunicated by the Akal Takht. Here is actually the original Hukamnama declared by Akal Takht here in Punjabi. Here is the one in English. You may pause this video to take a look. As you can see, New York is not a novice in this department. However, just due to a sheer lack of familiarity of this tradition, some individuals are opposing it in its entirety.
ਸਾਡੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਬੱਚੇ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ 'ਚ ਗਏ ਮੇਰੇ ਹੱਥ 'ਚ ਮੋਬਾਈਲ ਹੈ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਦੇ ਜਥੇਦਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਿਖ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਿਊਯਾਰਕ 'ਚ ਗਏ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੇ ਗੁਰਪੁਰਬ ਤੇ ਨਿਊਯਾਰਕ ਦੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ 'ਚ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਿਆ ਉਸ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ 'ਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਦਾ ਪਾਠ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਦਾ ਪਾਠ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਬੋਲੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ
Now, the accusation that's being placed is that the authority of Guru Granth Sahib Ji is being challenged by the Dasam Granth. Now, this is not the only individual that's saying this. There are a few others as well. However, this accusation is not supported by the tradition itself. The tradition actually highlights the Guru Granth Sahib Ji as Jagat Guru, the Guru for the world, and maintains that the Dasam Granth Sahib Ji speaks specifically to the Khalsa to inspire a warrior spirit. Nonetheless, the diaspora is picking up the fruits laid down by the Anandpur Bir. Here in the West, we're seeing a maintenance and an inheritance of the Khalsa traditions. Sodhak ji, thank you so much for joining us in this documentary. Please comment down below what you thought and what you'd like to see covered next. Please subscribe and like and share with others. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki Fateh. Hey, before you go, I just want to talk to you about a project that we started a few years ago. It's called Camp Panth. Camp Panth is a project where we come together as students and teachers and we learn how to read Gurbani. It's really needed here in the States, and we're going to be coming to Georgia March 7th to the 10th of this year, 2024. We really hope to see you there. If you can't make it, please consider donating to the project on dvnetwork.org/Camp Panth. Thank you so much, Satsang ji.